with Jonathan Thompson, author, creator of Tales from the Dead Astronaut. But a little hurricane happened, and now he doesn't have any power. So we're working with Jonathan to reschedule that. But tonight I thought instead of Jonathan, I would re-air my interview with Wilson Lee Jr. from CnS Comics, creator of Tol'asha of the Stars. They are running a Kickstarter right now, and so it seemed like the perfect time to re-air this interview, even though we did it just a little bit ago, because they're in the middle of their Kickstarter for issue 2. They're already funded, so at this point we're talking stretch goals. So watch this interview, enjoy it. The passion that Wilson has for creating these comics is remarkable. You can find them on Instagram, I know, at Tol'asha of the Stars. Go there, click on their Kickstarter link, and support their Kickstarter campaign for issue 2. I'm sure it's going to be great. They have animation also. They have an animated episode of issue 1. There's so many great things in this interview. I can't wait for you to watch it if you haven't seen it already. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Hey, man.
What's happening, Brett? How's it going?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, man, excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to
How's it
have
going for you?
Not bad. Got all the kids to bed, and now just get to hang out with you for a little bit.
All right, let's rock.
Yeah. So I was giving everybody a little bit of introduction before. CnS Comics stands for Crump and Sons Comics. And you guys, your flagship title right now is Tol'asha. I'll get to all that in just a minute, but tell us a little bit about yourself and your background first.
Well, I'm from Havelock, North Carolina, so shout out to Havelock, shout out to Harlow. Just a regular working stiff. I've always loved to read, always loved to write. I come from a household of a hard-working military man and a teacher type, so we were always forced into our school books, whether we wanted to be in there or not. And I always found some escape in the written word, and I have a love for all types of different mediums, poetry, the novel. I'm very affectionate for the novel, and of course comic books, the graphic novels. I'm an anime junkie as well, so there's a lot of nights that I should be asleep, but instead I'm animating it up. So
that's funny.
Nothing
so
special.
Comics.
Comics.
You've always been a fan of comic books? Do you remember your first
The
comic?
90s was...
Yeah.
The 90s, it was prime time. I don't remember the very first one. I know that it was either an old Marvel, like 80s Transformers, or a Spider-Man that I boosted off one of my brothers. I have 2 older brothers, 1 younger. And, most of what you get when you're third born is what you pick up, what you find, what you dig out. So a lot of it was, you jump on the back of what your brothers are doing, but I always did enjoy a good Marvel comic. I'm going to be honest, I don't do a lot of DC unless it's the main man and we're just having fun with Lobo. But I really dig on the cosmic Marvel sagas, like the Silver Surfers, something that I'm really reading a lot of right now. I've got the volume 7, 91 to 92, and I've just been reading it back and forth. And probably one that I don't think a lot of people mess with, because nobody was upset about the Infinity Saga that Marvel did, is Adam Warlock. He is my favorite comic book character. He gets very little love nowadays, though, I've noticed. But that's Starlin era Marvel greatness.
yeah. Adam Warlock is fun. I like him. So what are you reading now? I don't know if my connection's a little bad or your connection's a little bad, but we're going to work.
Is it me? Sometimes in the office it does do this. Let me come out a little bit. We'll see if we can get a better connection going for you. You'll hear some Bob's Burgers in the background, but that's just life here. No, don't turn your Bob's Burgers off.
I'm surprised we don't have a gumball in the background of mine. All right, so
there we go.
What comics are you reading now? You said a lot of anime.
Right now, if I'm going indie, I've been rereading Tuskegee Heirs.
Yes.
I've got the first and second issues, signed by Marcus the Visual, by the way. They're signed.
Awesome.
I've been reading some Mechanica as well, and I've also fallen back into that old school image. I've been reading some Ray, Exo Man of War. I'm looking to get all of the sagas so that I can go back. I did touch Saga a little bit, and I think it might be one of the greatest things ever, like everyone says, but I haven't had the chance to really bite that apple like I want to. So, are we still running bad connection? Do I move when I move? I can hear you.
Okay, hold on. That's better or not? Can you hear me? Oh no, Wilson. Oh.
Okay. Have I returned?
You have.
Okay, there we go.
Oh. All right. Can you hear me all right now?
Yeah, I hear you pretty good.
Okay. Very good. So let's talk about comic books and creating your own. What brought you to the point of loving comic books to creating your own? Because a lot of people love comic books, but not everybody makes their own. So you've done it and done it successfully.
I think they should. First, everybody should be making their own comics.
Nice.
It's the medium, man. It's a really interesting medium. I've got a lot of classic literature in my background, the Western classic education in my background. My undergrad degree was English. And so I've had a lot of exposure to different forms of writing. I think that the comic book does for the modern world what the short story and Edgar Allan Poe did for early America. We are not long on the attention span. You can have a really good story.
No, we're not.
But flashy lights rule the world today. So it's hard to keep an audience engaged. I have this belief that a 16-page comic is my version of Poe's short story. So to give you enough where you want to read more, but not so much where you can put it down before you finish. So the goal is that you always finish one of my books when you pick it up the first time, and you always wish you already had the second one. So that's kind of my approach to it. My love for the comic really starts in the freedom of storytelling. Like when you look at a character like Adam Warlock, he kills himself 2 different times. He does the Jesus, he returns from the dead. Like, he's a very interesting character. You can take a lot of leaps in the comic book genre that I think other genres fail to be as brave. You can be a lot more brave in a comic book. You can really just try some interesting things. And you see it all over the place. The indie books are fantastic. Mm-hmm. Crescent City Monsters comes to mind. That's a very interesting thing to do. And Unique Studios. There's just a lot of ways that you can really approach a comic. There's a lot of different audiences you can engage, and it's visual. And currently we're a very visual society. So if you don't have a little flashy light with it, how do you get anybody's attention?
That's true. I love that. I love that comparison of comic books to the short stories of early America. I love that. That's such a good point. So let's break down your comic. Let's CnS Comics and Tol'asha of the Stars. What's happened so far? What's happening next? Give us the lowdown.
Gotcha. So Tol'asha really starts where I thought I was writing a novel. I am a Lord of the Rings junkie, a huge Lord of the Rings nerd, like the Forgotten Tales and the Silmarillion type of Lord of the Rings nerd.
Yep.
I thought I was going to write my great epic Lord of the Rings where some of the characters were black, because that was always one of the drawbacks for me. There's no black people in high fantasy.
No.
But I love high fantasy. So part of it was wanting to create what I wanted to see, what I wanted to read, what I wanted to engage with. And I started in on my big epic biblical start to my great high fantasy, and I needed an origin for the people I was creating. So I created Tol'asha, the immortal queen. She drops out of the sky, and I write this scene for her. And all of a sudden I was enamored. I was like, well, you know what? I like her better And it was a striking image to me that I saw when I was thinking her up. And I just couldn't let go of the image, and I knew she had to be a comic. And I stopped what I was doing, 180'd, and immediately started writing the origin stories for this character I created. So what you see in Tales of the Stars, the series right now, the Tol'asha of the Stars arc is the origin of Tol'asha. She is the beginning of this universe that I call existence with a capital E. She's the beginning of that pantheon. She's the beginning of that world. So basically you see her being called into existence in the first book and just kind of get exposed to her power. She feels flat right now. I promise it's on purpose. It just gives you room to grow. You get that first dimension, and she really builds character through the engagement she has and her experiences.
See, that's to me, she didn't seem flat. She just seemed young. Like she was someone who just came into being. I have several young ones upstairs, and you know, there's not a depth of personality there all the time. And so right. And she really is, her personality remains that strong, very forward, confident self. But she is shaped by the relationship she builds. Within the first book, the connection she makes with Elijah the blacksmith goes back to how I grew up. You usually fight your friend. The first time you really get to know one another, you duke it out, and then you're sitting there bloody and have a good conversation, and you realize that you're really the best of friends. And it's a lot of that. And she builds that familial bond wherever she goes. So a lot of it is less of the traditional superhero book and more of the adventure holy grail type of quest. So that's really where she starts, is she's encountered by these beings called the stars and sent on her epic quest. And you pick up with her there. With the second book, you're going to get introduced to probably my favorite character. I know it's my wife's. Other than Tol'asha, my favorite one is whichever one I'm reading or writing about or thinking about at the time. But the Hoarder, he's just an interesting, grumpy, mean, curmudgeon guy. And he's relegated to his own world, but on that world, he is all powerful. And she must go there to get something. And that's right. So you tell him, buddy. That is my dog, Remy LeBeau. He is named for Gambit from X-Men. I love it.
Just so you know. But that's the universe that I'm looking to build, is this epic world where I can just continue to create and draw on a lot of different themes and motifs. It's really a layered work.
That's really interesting, because I sent you the interview questions beforehand, so you know one of my questions was going to be to tell us about the mythology you're building. And kudos to you as a writer, because I picked up that this was you say you're writing like a Tolkien type mythology almost. And so I picked that up. I picked up the layers and everything. And so that was the impetus for the question of, what can you tell us about it? Because it's really unique, and you can, even just in issue 1, you can see it building, that there's more back there. There's this mythology behind everything you're doing, and it shines through in your work. That's really cool.
Well, let me first blush a second and say, thank you. Everyone loves a good compliment. The mythos is really about, there is existence with a capital E and forever with a capital F. And these two realms exist. One important thing is that immortals, they are not born in this universe, they are called. So that is to imply that there was somewhere else they were prior to being brought to the place they are. So it's really a much bigger world than you're exposed to, but piece by piece it grows on you. What you have is the stars, who are like gatekeepers. They're not here, but they're not here. Their power can be present in ways, but they aren't physically present in existence. So they need a champion. And if you've read the first book, if you haven't, spoiler doesn't hurt if the work is still good. The stars come into existence to save existence from a calamity. So that's kind of your vague backdrop. One of the most important themes is narrative and the way we tell history. So it just depends on who you're talking to in the story, which version of history you'll get, what narrative they give you and try to drive your thought. So I ask you to always question your narrator, question the characters, question their version of history. I do a lot of things with time that doesn't fit. And it doesn't fit because everybody's concepts of time and of history and the narrative that they live by is different. And it impacts their perspective on existence and their perspective on the situation. It doesn't really get super exciting until book 3 and you start encountering the mortals themselves. So right now you're just getting exposed to the immortals, but the world is more populated by mortal races than immortals. So as you encounter them, that's when you really start to get more of the question of who's telling the story, whose story do you want to listen to, who's your honest, truthful narrator. So don't take everybody at face value the way they tell the story. They don't necessarily lie, but they leave out things strategically.
So kind of like the real world.
Yeah, a little bit there. Not so much where you can't have fun, though, but definitely a lot of, I didn't want to start off with something in the real world. I didn't want my first book to be too real. I wanted it to be something that I could put in your kids' hands, that everybody could engage with, and it would offer something to every reader. And I really feel like that I'm accomplishing that with Toll. There are 14 already written books that cover this arc. So I'm just going to continue to crank them out. I promise you guys, I will not leave you hanging. If you get started, you'll get to finish. It will not be like Southern Bastards did me, where it just disappeared, or Autumn Lands. These were some really good stories that they just disappeared on me. I'm not going to do that to you guys. If you start with us, you'll get to finish with us, and we'll take it all the way. So
that's awesome. So speaking of taking all the way, you have a Kickstarter campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know when that's going to kick off? Can you tell us more about it?
We are going to launch that puppy in 2 days. So Friday the 17th, it's coming out. To go along with that launch, we're also going to hit them hard with the pilot episode of the animated series. So that's coming as well. There are a lot of great prizes. We have T-shirts. I don't know if I'm not the best camera person or marketer type, cool. But
I see it. I love it.
It says the fearless reign. That's one thing about Tol'asha. Every immortal has a unique power. They are generally not militant. They would be more like explorer, tradesman type. But Tol'asha comes into existence with the immortal power of being fearless. She is fearless. It's not that she doesn't get scared. It's that she does not understand the concept of fear. She cannot relate to you on that level. So anything she does is not motivated by being afraid. And this comes back to one of the, like, a life philosophy I have, that you can operate out of 2 spirits in this world. You can operate with the spirit of love, or you can operate with the spirit of fear. The spirit of fear leads you to be hostile. The spirit of love leads you ultimately to understanding, even if there are moments where you fail and you are hostile, or you do fall into that trap. Ultimately, if you're coming from a place of love, you will end in a good place. So Tol'asha is here to help us all abolish all these fears we have so that we can come closer together. It's also part of the journey, is that everywhere she goes, everybody looks different. Everybody works it out, unless they don't. It is a world of conflict. So
that's awesome. I love that.
The Kickstarter, we've got great posters too. I'm really excited about the posters. We're going to do some trading cards. Most everything is physical. So if you're contributing, you're not going to get any. You'll get some digital items, but most everything we're offering is something you can hold in your hand. That's because I would prefer that. I'm okay reading a digital comic. A digital comic is good, especially if the writing's good. It still looks great, but I got to touch it. I need to feel that book in my hand. So I figure everybody would prefer something physical.
I agree. I prefer that too.
yeah, that hard copy.
Yeah, I can't wait for 2 more days. 2 more days. The Kickstarter kicks off. All right.
Oh, I'm super duper excited. I'll tell you, one thing about creating for yourself is you have to accept failure. Not accept it in that you become a failure, but don't ever waste a good fail. Yeah. There's something you can learn. There's some place you can grow. There's something to be gained from that experience. My first Kickstarter, I tried to launch this February. We got hit by COVID. The entire world changed. And we're all doing the best we can with that. But I just want to say to anybody that's out there that sees this, do not be deterred by the hard times, because they shape you. Yeah. And if you survive the hard times, then you're better prepared for the good times as well. Yeah. So this is my second attempt at a Kickstarter. It will be a success, because I'm going to make it that way this round. So really look forward to getting it out there.
So many creatives failed their first Kickstarter. So many people, it's just, you hit the button and go launch, and all of a sudden you have $1,000 or something. That's just not the case. And
right.
So many people, if you are out there, you're watching this, and your first Kickstarter failed, don't worry.
Do another one. If the second one fails, revamp, take a look at what went well, what didn't, and do a third one. But don't surrender. Never surrender.
Exactly.
You've got to be your biggest cheerleader, is something I've realized. And if you're always your own cheerleader, then you always have somebody in your corner. But I'm lucky enough to have the support. I have 3 brothers, a big giant family, and everybody's into it. We're all very enterprising, entrepreneurial minded people. So we're all doing something. I've gone the create my own comic route, but we do agribusiness. We're a hardworking group, so we give it a go. We'll definitely give it a shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my brother right there. He says, at first you don't succeed. Try it again, try it a third time, never give up. Yep. So
that's wise words right there. Wise words. So you mentioned the pilot episode. I've seen the pilot episode. My kids have seen the pilot episode. My youngest son was so afraid that the blacksmith was going to be mean. He calls him the big dude. He goes, the big dude was nice. So it's great. Can you tell us more about that? Are there going to be more episodes, hopefully? Is that...
Absolutely. So I've got my business degrees too. The first one I got was English, then I went and got a master's degree in business. I am a process person. I do process for work. So I always try to refine and make things a little smoother. We've got a system going. You're going to get a book, you're going to get an episode, you're going to get a book, you're going to get an episode, and we're going to keep it going that way. As long as we're really looking to do more animation. When I first set out and I saw Toll, I wanted to make a trilogy. With one final movie, so like a trilogy, and then that one more that makes it so that you can finally get everything you need and be settled. So I've seen it that way. I'm going to push towards that goal. I'm working with some great independent animators. Motion Studios I've worked with for the first episode. I'm going to work with them for the second. I'm doing some other animations with some other scripts I've written with some really great folks. So look for more animation, not just Tol'asha the Stars, but other things that we animate. Everything we create isn't necessarily kid-friendly. There are some heavier, darker, deeper things. One thing I'm really looking forward to doing is I call it the Eager City Chronicles. If Dragnet and the Twilight Zone had a baby and then hired X-Files to babysit, that's kind of what you would be dealing with there. So I'm really looking forward to getting that one out and, giving something out there for everybody. There's a lot of different things that I write and a lot of different things that I'd like to see ultimately illustrated or animated. So that's kind of the end game goal.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can't wait to see more. You've already given so much great advice already, but one of my questions for you that I ask every creative is, there's a lot of people out there watching this, or they will watch this after the fact, and they have a book in mind, or they're in the process of creating a book. They really want to get into the indie comic industry. What advice would you give those people?
Well, one thing I have noticed, a lot of people don't think their stuff is good enough. I don't have this problem. I probably have an overabundance of confidence, but believe in your stuff, man. If you can't pitch it to me like you love it, it's going to be hard for somebody else to fill it when you're pitching it. Believe in your stuff. My dad used to say it all the time when you go on the pitcher's mound. Throw the fastball, man. Throw it for a strike. Believe in what you got. So I think that would be, other than what I've said already, don't be afraid to throw your pitch. Be who you are. Be unique. Don't try to create something that conforms to everything else, because what I like as a reader is to feel something new. Even if it's with the same type of ingredients in the kitchen, throw it together for me in a different way so that ultimately it's something I've never tasted. And the best way to do that is to embrace yourself. Be who you are. Let it come out. Don't try to make it fit somebody else's box. Build new boxes. So don't limit yourself. Don't be limited by your fears. Don't be limited about other people's criticisms. Don't ignore criticism. Take it, use it, grow. But don't be deterred by those things. Move forward. I guess, and the other thing I really want to say is stop trying to make a perfect product. Stop. Get it out there. Show people what you've got. People will see it for the diamond it is. They'll see the rough, but they'll see the diamond, and they'll want to help you get the diamond out as well. So I say, be brave, and don't worry if it doesn't come out perfect the first time. Ugly cakes are delicious too.
I love that. That's going on one of my quotes right there.
Yep. Feel free. Have at it.
All right. A fun question. If you could do a crossover with any other indie title, what would it be?
Ah, man. All right. So this was a heavy hitter. I saw these questions and I was like, man, there's no way. There's so many different. I just got done reading The Elements. I don't know if you've seen this from Eminent Comics.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking at Eminent Comics. Yeah, we got them coming up sometime soon, I think.
I grabbed Elements, the first book, and I tell you, it's a great book. If you're out there, if you're watching this, I would love to edit for you so I get first dibs on reading. It's a really good book. I'm looking forward to eventually working with Lonzo and Onaji, and you know, we're always in conversation about the time we're really going to have a moment to space something out. Crescent City Monsters, if you're out there and you're interested, I would love to do some work for you there too. There's just a lot of really, like you said, so many good books that need exposure. But I guess that would be my list there. I don't want to rank them. Elements is fresh in my mind, and it's a really groovy take. I'd like to see how that shakes out, like how they move forward with that. There's two characters, Alpha and Omega. It's a good read if you get a chance to read it. Of course, I've read all the Concrete books. They were excellent books. I am, like you, and Odina is the baddest fan. Odina is my champ.
Yep.
So those are excellent books as well. So I would love to cross over with anybody out there who believes in their stuff and wants to throw their pitch. Check me out. I'm interested in seeing what you got. Any of you indie artists out there who don't think that you can get your stuff published in a book, you're probably wrong. DM me. I'm interested. A lot of your work is better than what you believe it is. I've noticed that a lot across the board with creatives is that fear that people won't like your stuff, but they probably will. Put it out there.
Yeah. Love it. Alonzo says, let's go.
Yeah, I hear you, Zoe. What's up, man? You know where to find me. I got another good free month. I've started writing again. When I can show everybody, when I can put it out there, it's going to be something really different, phenomenal. It's going to be a lot different than what you're seeing with Tales of the Stars, a lot different than my detective Eager City Chronicles. It's something I'm feeling pretty passionate about writing. Like, you get as a writer those moments where the muse is with you, and while she's with you, ride out. So
that's awesome. Well,
I'm really excited about that.
Tell people where they can find your stuff. How can they buy Tales of the Star issue 1? How can they support you on Kickstarter?
So on the Kickstarter, the link is right now in my profile for the Kickstarter. You can follow today. You can get started live on Friday. I'm probably going to push out an email to people already on my website, www.cnscomics.com. And I'll say that for you one more time, www.cnscomics.com. Check us out. Our t-shirts are available there. There's a lot of different options available with the t-shirts. Of course, the book's available in print and digital. The posters will be up soon. The trading cards are going to be exclusive to the Kickstarter. Nice. I'm eventually going to create a trading card game, but these are, you fall in love with certain images and you want to put them all over the place, and that's kind of where we're at there, and been playing around a lot with the Illustrator and Clip Studio Paint and different things we can do. So there's going to be some trading cards available. I will sign them for you if you give me your money. So check that out.
and just posted, I've seen the images of the trading cards. I don't know if those were just previews you sent me or if those have been posted, but I recall seeing the images.
They have been refined. I've really kind of worked on them some, but those are going to be the images that you get. You're going to start off with the two characters you get in book one, Tol'asha and Elijah. They are pivotal characters in the series itself. The blacksmith is, like your son noticed, not a mean guy. He's a maker of things. He just likes to make stuff.
Nice.
So don't judge a book by its cover just because he's a giant 20-foot tall, monstrous giant man. Doesn't mean that he wants to beat you up. He might just want to know what you're interested in and what you're doing. So you'll have those. The digital mini is also a prize that we'll have. I've posted some images of that. We kept it in black and white because I liked it that way. I know a lot of people wanted color, but I don't know. There's just something about that image. It's really good work from 3DX Go. If you're looking for him on Instagram, he is an amazing artist. Does some really far out inks. His lines are just amazing. And I felt like color would be nice, but those lines and those inks, they're just so good.
I like some good black and white work. I really do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, there's something about good ink that it does it for me. I mean, good coloring is awesome too, but good ink can carry the whole ship on its own. So a lot of nice prizes though. We got a lot of great things going on with the Kickstarter. I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody for their support ahead of time. There are some limited prizes. We do 2 covers with the Tales of the Stars. So every time we roll out, we'll roll out with 2 covers. I will only print 100 of the first cover, the limited cover, and I'm going to keep 5 of them for myself for other prizes. So just so you know, there's 95 chances to get one. There are going to be some really interesting covers this time. We'll do some reveals as the project goes on, as the Kickstarter goes on. We are pretty much closing out issue 2 now in terms of illustration and creation. It's almost to the finish line. So just looking to start getting stuff in everybody's hands, give everybody a chance to take a look at what we're doing over here at www.cnscomics.com.
That's awesome. Well, everybody, you heard Wilson. Go to cnscomics.com or follow him on Instagram. Kickstarter kicks off on Friday. I'm so looking forward to that Kickstarter. So looking forward to seeing what comes next. You guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us, Wilson. And thank you.
My pleasure.
Just for the stories you're putting out into the world. They're awesome, man.
I appreciate that. And thank you for doing what you do. I love seeing everybody up on your Instagram, and I love these lives. Looking forward to your next interview. Are you doing Nova? Is that?
That's coming up. Yeah.
That's next, up. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So. I've been watching. They do some great work over there, and they're doing a lot of stuff with animation too. So video game making. That's some really interesting stuff going on there. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. You have a great night.
You too, Wilson.
Bye, everybody out there.
See you guys.
Well, everyone, that was my previously recorded interview with Wilson Lee Jr. of CnS Comics. They currently have a Kickstarter campaign for Tol'asha of the Stars, issue number 2. Live on Kickstarter right now. They're already funded, so it's already happening. We're just in stretch goal period now. We'll be back soon with some new interviews. Like I said previously, live interview scheduled for tonight with Jonathan Thompson, author and creator of Tales from the Dead Astronaut. He got hit by a little hurricane, so his power's out. So we'll get him on soon. As for other interviews, we got more coming down the pipeline. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.